is Breakfast Extra. Now, apparently in Nigeria, even bank accounts can have election timing. 10 days, and I mean 10 days before the Osun elections, before Osun goes to the polls, the EFCC freezes an account belonging to the state government. Now, the reason, 11 billion naira. Keep that in mind. We're coming back to it repeatedly. Now, the EFCC says it has investigating, or rather that it was investigating the alleged mishandling of 11 billion naira in ecological funds, intervention funds, and also FAC allocations since March. Then, on August 2nd, it says it noticed large transfers of government accounts to several corporate accounts. And by August 5, the accounts, well, it was frozen. Now, let's be fair. If somebody's moving public money while an investigation is going on, the EFCC does have the right to question. It will ask these questions. But here's the question Nigerians should be asking. What exactly happened to the 11 billion naira? Who got the money? Which companies? How much did they receive? What was it for? Were there contracts? Were the jobs actually done? Who authorized the payments? Because saying 11 billion naira is under investigation is not the same thing as telling us what exactly happened to 11 billion naira. And then there's this. This is the interesting part. The election, August 15. The account, frozen August 5. 10 days. And suddenly, we have a political storm. Adeleke says political persecution. The EFCC says financial investigation. And then, of course, the President Tinubu himself, an APC president nonetheless, and remember this, he tells the EFCC to go back to court and lift the freeze because the timing could undermine confidence in the election. And that's quite something because it leaves us with two separate questions, maybe even three questions. Was the investigation justified? Was the timing wise? And can the president intervene? These are not the same questions, but there is one other question that should sit above every other question, anything politics, whatever it is. And this is it. Where is the 11 billion naira? If it was properly spent, well, show us. If it was improperly moved, tell us where it went. If companies received it illegitimately, name them. If they didn't, well, still name them too. Because Nigerians are tired of choosing between, it's corruption and, it's political. We don't need another political argument. There's too many going about already. We need paperwork. We need transactions. We need evidence. Show us the money. Remember where that one came from. Because on August 15, Osun will count votes. But before then, perhaps we need to know exactly where this 11 billion naira went so we can at least maybe take that off the table. Did the EFCC actually have a case? And then we can start to talk about the other matters. Welcome once again. This is Breakfast Extra. I was told to keep my monologue short, so I hope I've succeeded. And of course, let's welcome Queen Celestine, who is actually the one who asked me to always keep my monologue short. How did I do today, Queen?
It was really short. I'm like, this is short, but I like the fact that while it was short, the question was very, apt. Like, Where is it? It's a question that everybody's asking. Where is it? And if the money was sitting, there's another question. If that money was just sitting there, somebody would say, okay, there are things that needs to be done. Why is the money just sitting there? It's just a lot of questions.
There's so many questions. And
Thank you for bringing it up this morning.
There is one more question I'd like us to talk about when I get back there, and that's the third question regarding the president's intervention. Could he intervene, especially if the EFCC was doing something within its jurisdiction? Femi Falana had something to say about that over the week. Let's start the show. I'll come over and we'll have some more conversation about this. Welcome once again. This is Breakfast Extra. We'll be back.
Hurry. A very good morning to you and welcome to Breakfast Extra, Saturday edition. And of course, it's another weekend to catch up, reflect, and take a closer look at the issues driving conversations across Nigeria. Now, with just 7 days to the Osun governorship election, the race for the government house enters a crucial phase. We will examine the final push, the key issues, where the 11 billion is, like Mazino earlier said, and the factors that should shape the outcome of the contest. We also shine a spotlight on Nigeria's athletes, exploring the difficult reality behind the medals and the welfare challenges facing those who bring pride to the nation. In Extra Special, we'll look at NAFDAC's crackdown on sachet alcohol, the reasons behind the policy, and the concerns around public health, regulation, and enforcement. Our big report takes us to a Badagry community living in isolation, where News Central's Francis Asenwa reveals the struggles of residents cut off from basic services, including healthcare and education. And with 2027 elections on the horizon, we examine the renewed debate over President Bola Tinubu's qualifications, the legal arguments, and what the conversation means for Nigeria's democratic journey. These are the stories and conversations we have lined up for you today. So stay with us. And before we start that, let's do the dailies. Mazito.
Hello.
I feel like I haven't seen you in forever. I'm getting used to you.
I was busy on tonight.
You were until that's rude of you.
What do you mean?
You could even send a message over to Breakfast Extra to say, I miss you guys. It's miserable here.
My job is to lose job.
Well, good to have you back.
How was it last weekend? Was it good?
It was good. It was great.
Get ourselves in trouble again.
Well, no, we didn't.
Oh, good.
No, we didn't. And that trouble was entirely not our fault. But no, we didn't.
It's all good.
Talking about your monologue,
Yes.
I served in Osun State.
Oh, okay.
So I love Osun State because while I was there 2012, there was light all through.
Oh, that's nice.
I think my rent was 42,000 for 1 year.
Even at that time, that's better. Oh, no, that's not bad.
That's not bad. And so I didn't have to buy a generator or anything, but I've always known Osogbo, where I stayed, to be peaceful. I had friends from,
Can you remember who was governor at the time?
Aregbeshola.
Aregbeshola, okay.
Yes. So it was really beautiful. So having to see this chaos happen a few days to the election, people being beheaded, people being taken into custody and stuff, and then having to come and sign a peace deal. It was the day of, the signing of the peace deal that someone was beheaded in their car. So and in my head, I'm wondering, what is it about this election that is triggering a lot of,
It's very interesting, the Osun
issues.
State instance, because, the past two elections has had cases where the person who was elected was overturned through court cases.
Yes.
So it makes you wonder whether we're going into a proper election this time or whether it's going to be the same thing, since there seems to be a pattern where it's always switched and the court says, no, it's not you, it's the other guy. And the other guy is like, and in the case of Adeleke, he actually then won under the PDP, now a court. So it's a very interesting dynamic. It's like a salad of political mess. Yes, and everybody's involved. A court party here.
That is a salad.
NDC there. APC there, no PDP.
Yes, but it's how one thing, one agency does one thing, and then another agency, now the president comes and say, you know what, cancel that. You're not supposed to do that.
The question about the EFCC and their involvement is whether they were doing their job. If they notice that there are certain strange transactions going on, they should do it.
But why are they noticing now, a few days to election? Why didn't they notice it a long time ago?
Well, did the court not have all of these in consideration before giving them the go-ahead and the order to go ahead and freeze the account?
You see,
so don't ask the FCC, ask the courts. Regarding the motive, yes, there might be a motive. Then you can investigate that later. But first off, there was a court order that allowed. The bigger question is whether the president can intervene in such a matter just like that.
Let's go on a short break.
I hear that we have a little technical difficulty.
We do.
Yeah.
Let's go on a short break. When we return, we continue. Stay with us.
You're welcome. Let's continue now with the dailies. If you pick up any of these, these are the headlines that will be meeting you. Queen is, of course, doing this with me. We're starting with the Saturday Vanguard this morning, and it's got these headlines here. Kebbi Kwara, Niger abductions. 25 children died in captivity, says a lawmaker. Now, note, it's a lawmaker's claim. It's not been absolutely individually verified. I apologize. And he's talking about the recent, I think it was a recent rescue involving over 300 people who were rescued. Mm-hmm. He talked about the fact that these children they lost their lives as they were being moved by the terrorists, and they were buried there, so they didn't come back home. Unfortunate, says 12 youth joined terrorists' army, attack sad, regrettable. That's Governor Abdulrazak. At the top, alcohol, Nigerian children caught in deadly trap. We're talking about this today as the enforcement on the ban on sachet alcohol by NAFDAC takes effect, or is still being argued. And 50 years on stage, Daddy Shoki lights up Eco Hotels. Oh, congratulations to him. There's more conversation here. Kwara Governor Abdulrazak eases judicial operation. Fine print to deliver 8-story building with 70 offices, 12 courtrooms, conference hall, library, and so on. And Odegbami to Tinubu stop NFF elections. Why Atiku is worried over strange payment into his bank account. You should be worried. The EFCC is not sleeping. And Osun
Be worried
decides...
because it's strange.
Huh? Say again?
You should be worried because it's strange.
It is strange. It is. Osun decides, I'll block leakages, expand revenue, Oyebamije says. Election not warfare. Stop militarizing it. Accord tells the FG. And finally, for the vanguard for a Saturday, Balawunti to lead World Energy Council, Nigeria into the new energy era. Congratulations, Nigeria. Let's do your paper, shall we, Queen?
Well, let's move to the nation now. Of course, right at the center, how fake agency director blew 400 million naira, says the police. 2 directors, 3 others implicated, 22 additional suspects interrogated. Gbajabiamila's signature act was forged. We'll find that on page 4. This story is still unraveling. There's so many sides to it, and I cannot wait to see how this pans out. Tears of joy as Governor Abdul Razak receives released Kwara abductees. You find that on page 27. And court remands woman for allegedly severing boyfriend's manhood. I think that's a take 3 conversation. Oh, wow. That is sad. Besides its Cameroonian friends I met in church wooed me into U.S. Army. Do they woo somebody to be dedicated?
No, you open your 2 eyes.
Job. Nollywood actress turned American soldier. I don't think they can woo you into such dedication.
Everybody wants a green card.
So, yay, come, let me woo you to be the president.
Oh, it's so, I don't know, enticing.
My God. Tinubu's project winning public confidence in Benue State. You find that on page 5. And of course, right at the top, Osun 2026, which is what we're going to be seeing till the day of election. APC Accord Party trade blame over alleged vote buying and oath taking. IGP warns politicians against turning poll into war. Last but not the least, Nigeria's Balawunti appointed CEO World Energy Council. All of that on page 27. Tinubu hails appointment, Nigeria's admission into body. And that'll be all for the nation. Mazino, what do we have next?
The Guardian is up next. Front page for The Guardian this week at Osun polls. Once again, concern lingers over alleged intimidation. It's moving from all the EFCC issues, the alleged, whatever that instance is, and the political storm. Now it's shifting into security, because this talk of intimidation, remember the peace accord was signed, but well, with the chatter, it's seeming like as if there really is no, at least not when it comes to the conversations that are happening, there's no peace as yet. So it's very heated. It's very, the nation's eyes are on it because Osun is a different animal altogether. At the very top, an intimate portrait of Babajide Sanwo-Olu as governor. Okay, great. Abuja at 50, redemption song for Wike. Good. And skills training opens new paths for vulnerable children. This is, there is no specific name to that. Now, I wish that could have been entertained. Environment degradation. Armafac orders sterling oil to compensate host communities. Oh, why they better. And once again, Wunti head World Energy Council. Dangote backs push for Nigeria's medical sovereignty. Regenerative medicine. River Park's estate dispute now at international arbitration stage, Wike says, and gunmen abduct farmer in Ondo. Demand 100 million ransom. This is Ondo State once again. Outgoing ECOWAS chief applauds Tinubu, Nigeria, for easing tension in West Africa. We are Big Brother, but this is not 1980.
What is intention in West Africa?
West Africa, well, ECOWAS, I mean, you can't go beyond that.
And we're not is intention at home.
Well, now I see what you're talking about. Well,
no comment. No comment.
What do we have next?
Let's move to the Saturday Punch.
All right.
The Saturday Punch, right at the center, EFCC boss in sack, storm over Osun State. In accord, NNPP netizens demand Olukoyode's removal. And EFCC independence faces scrutiny. Falana tackles the president. And commission froze 3 accounts, says the document. So I'm guessing
3, not 1.
Not
just,
one.
Not just one.
Initially was the statutory account, So
the Accord Party, mostly their voice is loudest when it comes to the sack of the EFCC boss. But once again, I ask, he did his job. He got a court order, asked the courts. That's where it should start from. Was it? And once
How
again,
did
like
the court come to that decision?
Yeah, exactly. It must have done its own due diligence. But then again, yes, what about the figure, the 11 billion?
Where is it?
Where is it? What is it? What was it for?
Why was it there?
Let's know whether it was absolutely illegal.
Yes.
Was it illegally moved? The legality of it should be at the center.
So at this point, we're asking for transparency.
Transparency, exactly.
Before it disappears and
Because we might keep talking about all these allegations and forget that, okay, it's about 11 billion.
Yeah.
But what was it used for exactly? And was it legal or not?
Hopefully we don't have termites this time.
Nah, snakes we've had.
Hopefully.
We've had.
Yes, we have. We have. Now, deadly crossing. How declining footbridge use turns highways into killing fields. That is sad. Help. Mom died without showing me my father, says a baker.
Aww. Age baker?
What?
Who's that now? Who's that?
She's a baker.
Oh, she's a baker. Okay.
They didn't put her name. Her mom died.
Disturbing.
Hopefully, she'll be able to sort that out. It's not good to have both parents absent. And Ira Star denied visa over wrong certificate. South African envoy. Let's not.
Has it begun already?
Let's not do this.
Has it begun already?
Let's not do this.
Oh, wow. Aria, don't worry.
I saw before I call her Tyler, is it Tyler?
Tyler Perry.
Not
Sorry. Tyler, the singer. Tyler Perry. I'm sorry, Tyler the singer. South African singer Tyler.
They had to, they said she should not come to Nigeria, so she took Nigeria out of her tour.
Yeah.
And now, what wrong certificate?
Well, then there is a case to answer there for Arya Star.
I can't. Let's not do
While
this.
the EFCC is verifying 11 billion naira Arya Star, let's know what the certificate
Let's not do this. Let's not do this.
Then
family questions.
That must have taken like real scrutiny on the part of the South African
something
agency.
else. I'm telling you.
Like, this is in Nigeria, and yes.
I'm telling you.
Check everything.
Family questioned my son's paternity, maltreated my wife. Artist Mr. P. Yo, I have to say, I had to watch it.
The entire
Part 1-8. Mazino, my mouth was wide open.
I think you should make an appearance on take 3 over the.
Oh my God, my mouth was open. And I'm like, situations like this just remind you that you must always hear from the other side. But now, if I move it back to politics, we never really hear from both sides. We just hear what we want to hear or what they let us hear. But let's not go too far. But that story is really, really touching. Moving away from that, right at the top, 13 die, 12 children remain in quiet terrorist den. 7 women lost babies in 6 months captivity, says a survivor. That's pretty sad. And of course, another sad news on the Saturday Punch. Dark week in entertainment as 4 stars dies. You find that on page 17. May their souls rest in perfect peace. And I think that's all I have for the Saturday Punch. Mazino, do you want to take the last paper?
Yes, the last paper is the Saturday Times. Tinubu EFCC order sparks uproar. Nigerians demand Olukoyede sack. We heard that before. President's directive shows EFCC subject to control ADC. There is that argument about timing. They say they have been following these monies since March, but then why wait until 10 days just before to freeze the account? So there is all that question to ask. Very many questions. At the very top, DJ Copy, I've been avoiding marriage despite getting proposals every day. Who wouldn't propose to you? I would marry you. I'd change my name. AFCON FG's unkept $100,000 promise struck Super Falcons camp. We're talking about this today. We have former Minister of Sports, Dalung, here to have that conversation with us. And the rest are in very fine print. Most wanted terrorist army places bounty on head of ISWAP, Wali in Lake Chad. And Tiku raises alarm over bank data breach, says he received mysterious credit alert. If you don't need it, I could have some of that. You've got the Tribune, yes?
Yes, I think we still have one more. Let's do the Saturday Tribune, please.
Go ahead.
Of course, right at the center, it says scavengers attack Lagos Bridge and strip pillars of iron bars.
This is around
Did you
the
see that
Festac
video?
area. Yes. So it's very sad because this is a new bridge. It's not 5 years old. It's not 5 years old. And under the bridge, you'd find shanties. Now, apparently, these shanties have been masking the notorious activity that has been going down. And I'm wondering why anybody in their right senses would do that to something, an infrastructure as important as a bridge. Why? But
So the question now is, while I'm trying to understand how and what they used to pull out the irons from a pillar.
well, it's just I've never been in this business, but I would imagine that it takes time. It's simply
So
just
that
need to
means
itch.
while they were building, they were not following up.
Well, who was
you can
building?
see-
Now the builders.
Well, the builders, right? If you keep building, you need to follow up, because if those pillars are supposed
They
to,
stripped the concrete from off of the pillars and then got to the iron.
like you said, it was going to take time.
Yeah, they've been
So-
there for a very long time.
And the people building
And there's
the
no
bridge-
supervision, there's no monitoring
See what
of these
you see
infrastructure
where I'm
because
going?
it's built inside of a marsh. There's supposed to be really nobody living there, but it's a very sad thing.
It is sad because I remember a few days ago on my way to the gym, trying to survive Nigeria and live healthy, I want to believe it's a mad woman
Okay.
pulling the wire off the traffic light, the pole.
Are you sure she had a case of mental insanity?
Well, if you're pulling the wires from the pole for the traffic light, then you're not normal.
Okay.
So I think, yes, while we're trying to do all the infrastructure and get everything right, we also have to supervise and make sure that these things are not accessible to hoodlums. Moving on from that, I think we have another story here. Depression can masquerade as fatigue, irritability, pain, perfectionism, and even success, say Professor James Obindu. The rest I really can't see. Right at the top, my husband is a drug addict, confessed he was expelled from school for courtism, woman tells court. The things that make it to the court.
You don't want to know.
I don't want to know.
Would that be all, or do we have more?
I think, yeah, of course, Wunti appointed in inaugural CEO of World Energy Council Nigeria, Kanu conduct mass wedding for 1,500 widows.
Once again.
Quite interesting. I think that will be all we can
That is
take.
all. Okay, so let's stay tuned. Let's get ready for what's going to be a very interesting conversation next 2.5 hours here on Breakfast Extra. We will be back. Stay with us. Welcome again. It's still Breakfast Extra. Now, with the Osun State governorship elections fast approaching, political activities have intensified across the state as candidates make their final push for votes in what is expected to be a fiercely contested race for the government house in Osogbo. Beyond campaigns and the rallies and also political promises, concerns are mounting over security, election violence, and the spread of misinformation.
Osun's political history has been marked by intense competition, shifting alliances and post-election legal battles, making the 2026 election one of the most closely watched contests in the country. As voters prepare to head to the polls, critical questions remain. Can security agencies guarantee a peaceful election? And what is truly at stake for the people of Osun as the race for government house enters its final stretch? Now, joining us to unpack these issues are Sodiq Lawal, who's an online editor within Nigerian newspaper, and Emmanuel Olowu, Executive Director, Social, Economic and Civic Rights Advocacy. Gentlemen, good morning and thank you for joining us. Now, Sodiq, let me start with you. With campaigns entering their final stages, we have literally a few days to the election. What political dynamics, alliances, or would you say key issues, would you say is shaping the Osun governorship race at the moment?
The matter is this. So far, so good. We've not had any issue-based campaign in Osun, and that is the truth. We've only recorded political killings, political violence, and also we've seen candidates, gubernatorial candidates, sending proses to radio stations, to television stations, to defend their manifesto and to present their ideas to the people of Osun. That's all what we've been seeing so far, with exception to, I think, only the candidate of the AAC, that should be the Action Alliance Congress and that of the ADC, that is Action Democratic Congress. I think these two candidates are the only ones that have only appeared either on radio, on television, to discuss their ideas and to bring their manifestos to the people of Osun State. And permit me to say this too. Last week, maybe it went viral, I don't know, maybe you came across it, a debate was organized for leading candidates, and only one candidate appeared. Others, they did not appear. And out of the three that did not appear, only one also released a press statement explaining why he missed that debate. That was to tell you that these candidates have not been speaking to Osun. They've only been speaking to Osun through process. They've been speaking to Osun through party chieftains, speaking to Osun through their spokespersons, and they've been speaking to the people of Osun through maybe youths in the party, or maybe sometimes even women in the party. So that's our situation. So we've not had any issue-based campaign so far. Perhaps we've recorded more than 20 killings. I just want to be minimal with my figure, more than 20 killings. And out of all these 20 killings, only one suspect, a prime suspect to say, has been arrested linked to that killing, while the other killings, those who perpetrated those crimes are roaming around and they've not been arrested by the police. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Emmanuel, Lawal, I'll come to you now. Mr. Emmanuel, Osun politics is a very interesting one. It's not very far from the courts. Once you talk election, you talk about the courts. And I'm wondering whether this is going to be the same instance this time here, as we're running to the elections coming in about a couple of days, or more than a couple of days. Are we going to be expecting this to overspill into a situation where we would have both members who have had history from before also end up in court again?
When you look at the dynamics of this election, you are going to discover that it is dovetailing into a situation that it is still going to end in court. Like I have always been saying, Osun State, when it comes to elections, Osun State is the most radical state, ideologically based state in the entire Southwest. We are always conscious when it's election season. And the way things are heading and things are going, there is every likelihood that it is going to end at the court. Why I am pointing at this is that, one, we have recorded a lot of killings in the state as we speak, and every one of us has admitted and know that the state, the police itself, has taken side. And in a situation of such, there is every pointer to the fact that on election day, there might be violence, because INEC, as a body, has identified that we have 385 hotspots and 200 difficult terrains. And when we put a call through to the INEC chairman, the REC make it clear to us that they were able to identify those hotspots as it is from their electoral officers, EOs, who are in various local governments, and they have pointed it to the fact that they are courtists in those areas, and they have been attacked in those areas. However, we wrote a letter to the REC to inform us, to give us a list of every of those difficult areas, and she had not. However, the European Union also affirmed it, that there are hotspots in Osun State. So when you look at every indications, there is a pointer that it might lead to violence, and it might have situations where votes might not be counted. We might have situations where
Olowu,
elections cannot.
So, Mr. Olowu,
if we have every tendency that we are going to end in court.
So, Mr. Olowu, so you're saying that there's a tendency it might end in court because there might be violence or rigging. Now, I wanted to talk about this rigging bit. When people talk about rigging, they often think of people stuffing ballot boxes, but that has become almost impossible recently with the new advancements from INEC. There's BVAS, there's this and that. So I'm wondering, if one was to rig an election, especially in the case of Osun State, where do you see that loophole that could be taken advantage of, noting the technological advancements that INEC now has, noting the security agencies' attention on election materials and all? Where could it go wrong? And I have a reason for asking this.
You see, where election will go wrong on election day can be pointed to vote buying and vote selling. Can be pointed to vote buying and vote selling. It is a criminal offense, and my organizations have been campaigning against people embarking on such. But if we can overcome the issue of vote buying, if we can overcome the issue of thuggery on that day, if the police and all other security agencies can work effectively on election day to ensure that thugs, cultists don't have their way, things might go better.
Is this
but in the situation where vote buying goes...
Is it restricted to election day only? Or would you say with the recent activities in Osun State that maybe this has already begun?
We have seen videos where people are making oaths. We have seen videos where people are making oaths. And this has cut across the two major political parties, the APC and the Accord Party. It has cut across both parties. So to me as a person, people have been transacting as we speak. So, but on election day, and there's something about a situation that we are in a country, in a state where poverty level has gotten up. A lot of people are still eager to sell their vote on election day. So what they might have gotten in the past is not significant, because what they have gotten, they would have forgotten they have gotten something. On the election day would be the most major one, because when we went around having sensitization, we told people that they should not collect money from politicians. And when you give them such information, they begin to laugh at you, that that day is a market day for them to make money. That is why I'm saying the police and other security agencies have a lot of work to do on election day to ensure that people, anybody who sells or buys votes, are being apprehended on election day.
Well, Emmanuel, Olowu, and Sodiq Lawal, let's hold on. Let's go on a short break. When we return, we'll continue this conversation. And I have a question for you, Sodiq. Stay with us. Welcome back. Before the break, we're talking about the Osun elections and everything happening right now. And we have Sodiq Lawal and Emmanuel Olowu. Thank you, gentlemen, for staying with us. Now, Sodiq, Emmanuel had mentioned how, they've talked to people in terms of don't sell your votes on the election day, but they're saying it's going to be a market day for them. Now, Sodiq, for you, how do you think this should be handled? Sensitization, should it be on the day of election, or they should have been, teaching people and talking to them how they should act on election day? And in terms of security, would you say that this violence in Osun State will end after the election, or you think it will continue?
Thank you. The truth is this. The people in power, let me say our elite, particularly politicians, they have weaponized poverty. When I'm talking about poverty, I'm talking about absolute poverty. Poverty has been weaponized so much that the people no longer trust the credibility of any democratic process or the credibility of any people in power to be genuinely concerned towards for their welfare. So that is why it is so bad that even when you are sensitizing people that vote buying and vote selling are criminal offenses, that if they continue to do this, we will not reach the genuine emancipation of the Nigerian people we are clamoring for. They will tell you that this is the only benefit that they can get from the politicians. In fact, someone told me particularly during our sensitization that it benefits nothing from the Nigerian government, either at the federal, the state, or the local government level. He told me that he provides water for himself through a borehole. He told me that he provides security for himself by employing private security guard. He told me that he buys food for himself. He told me that he has a solar power
Sodiq, we're having issues with your audio. I'm aware that your video might be on, Sodiq. Sodiq, could you please put off your video? We are using just your audio at the moment, so I think that would be better. So put up the video and continue with what you're saying, please.
We'll probably get is during the election day.
I don't think Sodiq heard us. I don't think Sodiq heard us. Sodiq, please, hopefully if you can still hear us, we're going to come back to you, but would expect that you switch off your video because I think your video is still running. We were going to use just your audio from before. But Mr. Emmanuel Olowu, let me come back to you. Osun State has had a very interesting, well, it's always a very interesting case in Osun State when you have political parties or winners being reversed here and there. Initially, it was Adeleke, and he went to tribunal. It was overturned. Appeal court reversed the tribunal. Supreme Court restored Adeleke back again. That was 2022. So I'm wondering now in 2027, what political parties should actually learn from the 2022 and 2018 instances that ended up in court? What should they learn? Particularly, what kind of evidence should they learn to preserve on election day if they're going to take these materials to court? Let's leave it at that.
You see, the greatest lesson that every one of us, every political party should understand is that after the election day, we need not to go into violence. We need not to apply self-help. So if we disagree, the best option for us is for us to return to court, for us to let the court itself decide on whatever will be the next step of action. No political party should take laws into their hands. And look, whatever is going to be the evidence that they are expected to present are empirical evidence. Things that can be seen, videos that can be taken. I've told a lot of people when I had the opportunity of discussing like this, I told them that political parties must be set to take videos, and whenever I'm addressing people, I always express it to them that, see, on election day, take the videos of courtists, of those who will come and attack electorate on election, take their videos. And after the elections, we are going to take it up and ensure that such people that have made themselves available to be instruments in the hands of politicians are prosecuted. So everything that they will be looking at is the forms, the elections, and look, the numbers you see, when you look at the Electoral Act itself, you are going to discover that it states that, for example, in a polling unit that you have 200 voters, if the vote in that polling unit exceeds 200, the election of that unit will be cancelled. So every of these indices have to be considered and looked at when we are making presentations in court. And I know the political parties themselves will have known what is expected of them to put together in preparation for litigation. Because as we speak today, there is every tendency that this election end up in litigation.
Now, Emmanuel, talking about this Osun State issue, there was an 11 billion, like Mazino mentioned earlier in the monologue, where we're looking for in terms of when the account was, frozen. And of course, a lot of citizens will be wondering, 11 billion in the account, what's happening to the state? You also mentioned that, vote buying, like Sodiq said, comes from, advert poverty. How do you think the citizens of Osun State will react, knowing feeling well that they had that, amount of money in their account and there are still some things that they are lagging? Because if they had basic amenities and, life was pretty good, I don't think they'll be selling off their vote. What's your take on that?
You see, when we investigate and ask some questions, we put the court through, we were made to understand that the money in question is a relief fund and it is being given to civil servants. It's talking about hardship fund and that they have been paying this money since when? Since the COVID-19 era. So if it is something that they have been paying for a very long time to ameliorate the pains that COVID-19 and other and the removal of fuel subsidy has placed on the Nigerian people, for me, as the person, I see it not as a crime. However, a lot of people are going to say that why is such money being distributed few days to election? But the fact is that this is the situation of our politicians. They will not make complaints when it is expected of them to make complaints. And that is why I see every one of them to be same of same. If they have been sharing this such amount of money since the removal of fuel subsidy till date, and other political party has never complained, if they are now doing same as we are putting election and you start complaining, we will begin to read meaning to it. To me as a political, to me as an activist, a political party who is running an opposition is not just only running an opposition on paper, must be able and capable to run opposition, to investigate, to criticize administration. So if the state government claim to have been distributing this money since when when subsidy was removed, and APC as a political party and other political parties fail to question the actions of the government since about 2 years back, and you are now complaining now, is an indication that every one of them is same of same. So to me, when we make investigation, we were told that the money in question is the money they have been sharing to eliminate the challenges of the Osun State civil servants since when fuel subsidy was removed.
Okay. Let's talk to the Mr. Sodiq. He is back. Mr. Sodiq, thank you very much for joining us back. I believe we can hear you better now. I want to go back to our talk on political violence here, especially when it comes to Osun State. It's always a case of accusation and counter-accusation, but there's never a real state where there is a prosecution when we talk about thuggery, when it has to do with elections. And I'm wondering whether these thugs operate outside of these election mechanisms or whether they're actually a part of a structure. If they are, how come we never get to see any prosecutions, even after elections, even in the case of Osun State? Sodiq?
See, the truth is this. The non-state actors terrorizing the people of Osun are not ghosts. That is the truth. They are not ghosts. Yesterday in Elisha, particularly in Olowu, a party and its members were doing rally. And suddenly, a Siena boss stormed that particular event and they started shooting sporadically into the air. The same yesterday, an Okada rider who was donning a cap of a particular political party was molested by political talks. And in Elisha, we have 5 police stations, and we also have 1 area command. Despite the fact of the presence of the police, these things are still happening. That is to tell you that, 1, is either the police is compromised, 2, all these non-state actors that I call political talks have overwhelmed the capacity of the police. Because if none of these 2 is actually happening, I believe by now that despite the fact that the IGP came to Osun State, he made a lot of statements of assurance, yet these things are still happening. And that is to tell, see, I'm a journalist. I'm a journalist. My duty is to ask questions, and my duty is to analyze incident. But looking at the Osun election so far, the electioneering process and the acclaimed violence, all sorts of things like that, I mean the multiple allegations against the police, that the police is biased and the police is compromised. I want to agree partly with those who accuse the police of bias, and I will tell you why. When a faction of NURTW protested, it resulted into violence, and the Osun State Commissioner of Police, CP Ibrahim Guton, declared that none of this faction must approach any car park or garage in Osun State. Barely 48 hours later, a faction of the NURTW stormed one of the offices of NURTW in Osogbo. They did not only bypass the police, they also did a live video. And after that, they left. till this moment, the leader of the faction and individuals who violated the direct directive of the CP, they've not been apprehended. That is one. Two, 14 political parties are jostling for the ticket. 5 out of the 14 have come out to accuse the CP. They've accused him of bias and they have accused him of complicity. 5 out of 14. If Nigeria were to be a saner society by now, and if the IGP truly will be fair in this election, if 5 out of 14 political parties, I'm referring to the Accord Party, I'm referring to the ADC, I'm referring to the AAC, I'm referring to the APP, and I'm referring to the AAC. If 5 out of 14 political parties could accuse the Osun State Police Command or the leadership of Ibrahim Goton of bias and complicity, I do not know why he has not been transferred from the state. All this coming together point to one thing, that we cannot throw away the allegations of those who are accusing the police of compromise on bias, because situations on ground point towards that. In Osun, we have recorded more than 20 killings here in Ilesha, where I live. In the month of June, an Okada rider was macheted in his face because he was donning a car belonging to a political party. The following week, 4 young people were murdered in cold blood here in Ilesha. The following week, 2 young people were adopted in front of Value Mall, and they were dumped in front of police station around 12 p.m. in the night. The following week, another man was killed in cold blood in Irojo, in Ilesha. The following week, there were allegations of adoptions, there were allegations of killings too. Yet, in Ilesha, those who perpetrated that crime, they are roaming around.
Sodiq?
And out of all the people that the police claim to have arrested, we can only link one to a political killing. That is Said Tanfiani, the prime suspect involving in the alleged killing of the 40-year-old Olowu.
I hope you can hear me, Sodiq. Sodiq, just before I let you go, I'm sure Queen has a question for you. I wanted to know exactly to whom or with whom are you associating this compromise by the Nigerian police? Who are they biased for in your findings as a journalist? Who would you say?
Thank you.
Keep
please, can you come with the question again? Sorry.
Okay, I just asked...
I lost you. The question again, please.
Yes, I just asked exactly to whom are the police compromised for when you talk about the police being compromised? Are they compromised on the side of what party?
Thank you. Both parties have come out to say that they are losing members on a daily basis. And all of them, they trace the loss of members to electoral violence and political killing. Although one of the major parties is defending the Commissioner of Police in Osun, and I had no choice than to ask yesterday, some days ago, that is the Commissioner of Police now a member of a political party, that when we ask him to perform his duty, a party will come out and start defending him. It is only when the Commissioner of Police is a member of a political party, that is when members of a party can start defending him. So if you ask me to mention a political party now, of course, I am a journalist. My duty is to be neutral, and my duty is to observe the election and write my report. Now, I do not want my statement to be used as a campaign material. That is why I would not appreciate and I would not love to mention any political party.
All right, then,
but the truth of the matter is this. Go to Osun, ask any resident or any native or any indigene of Osun State that which party or any member of any political party defending the Osun State Commissioner of Police over allegations of bias, complicity, and gross negligence of duty and irresponsibility. Believe me, the members of the party are the ones perpetrating this violence.
All right. Thank you, Sodiq.
Thank you so much, Sodiq. Emmanuel, now let's say the election is close by, of course. After the election, what would you say peace would look like in Osun State? What should the political actors, the agencies, the security agencies, what should they do to restore peace and preserve peace and strengthen democracy in Osun State? Emmanuel.
You see, what they need to do is that let the Nigerian police stop being partisan. For the sake of peace and for the sustenance of our democracy, let the Nigerian police stop being partisan. If Mr. Sodiq could not say it because he's a journalist, I felt it is important that I state it as an activist. The Nigerian police, as we speak today, is working with the APC. Let me say it as an activist and let me reiterate it. The Nigerian police of Osun is an appendage of the All Progressive Congress.
Do you have all indication as how would you prove this? How can you prove this? How can you prove this, Emmanuel?
Hello, come again.
How can you prove what you've just said?
Yes, I can prove it by virtue of every of the things that has transpired. Like what Mr. Sodiq said, which I am privy to. Only one arrest has been made, and that is Tafiani. And Tafiani was arrested after the DIG, after the IG sent the DIG to Osun State, despite the fact that a lot of us, we formed a coalition that is called the Network of Civil Society Groups. We protested on June 15, after the APC was shooting guns periodically on the 9th. And we begin to write letters. We wrote letters to the Police Service Commission, the Inspector General of Police, demanding for the deployment of CP Ibrahim Gotan. Okay. And when you look at it, there was a stakeholders meeting that INEC organized. If the Nigerian police is sincere, there is a program, a stakeholders meeting that INEC organized. At that program, the entire majority of the people in that event booed the CP. If the people, democracy is about the people. If the people could boo the CP and it is well covered on national dailies, and the IG does not look at that point and make a stand of redeploying that man from Osun, it's an indication that the Nigerian police itself is complicit on what is happening in Osun State. However, the question you asked me states that what should we look at? What we should look at now is that the Commissioner of Police and the Nigerian police, within the space of 7 days, should please begin to take steps that is going to restore the confidence, that people will have confidence in them. Because the situation that we are now, there might be voters' apathy because the tension is rising. So if the Nigerian police can come up now to begin to make arrests, to begin to show to the people that their life and properties are secured during and after the election, there will definitely be peace. However, after the election, if there are crises, the police and other security agencies should please team up to ensure that everywhere remains calm after the election.
Thank you, Emmanuel. Emmanuel, I just wanted to mention that what you've just talked about are your claims, and we haven't verified them as facts regarding your claims on the compromise of the Nigerian police, in particular parties that you've mentioned. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel, Olowu and Sodiq Lawal, for joining to have this conversation. Now, let's cross over to Osun State, where we have our correspondent, Bernard Akede, who's there for the March for Peaceful Election and Anti-Courtism. Bernard, good morning. Can you talk to us what's happening there? Give us an update.
Good morning, Celestine. We currently are in Osun State, Osogbo, like you clearly stated, and we are just exactly 1 week to the governorship elections, which is next week, Saturday, 15th of August, and there have been different activities building up to the election. One of such activities is what you can see behind me here. It's a peaceful march against cultism, and also organized by the youth here in Osun State. But I will speak to one of those who is actually behind this organization. His name is Emmanuel. He'll give us more insight as to what this is about, where we are going, and what led to this initiative. Emmanuel, good morning.
Thank you, sir.
All right, so could you briefly tell us, we're on Breakfast Extra, News Central Television. Could you tell us what exactly led to this initiative and what it is for.
Okay, this initiative is for police campaign against cultism, drug abuse, and electoral violence. So there is need to go into the community to tell the people, because people out there, they don't know that cultism is bad. They don't know that drug abuse is a bad thing. So we need to go out there to enlighten them, to a form of awareness to them, to know that, okay, all these things, they are bad, and there are better ways to live life. There are better ways to channel your energy. So that's why we are here.
Okay. All right, thank you. Now, Celestine, so before we go on, one of the commissioners, I believe, is speaking, and I would like us to join him live as well.
When it comes to internal security arrangement, that we are ready, and we are physically ready for the occasion. And then we want to tell the world that the organizer of this program, being Pokakov, their mission is to tell all the court members, all miscreants, all the thugs to keep away for this election. We want it to be crime-free entirely. That is the purpose.
What is a word of assurance to the people of Osun regarding this?
We have the IGP, Olatunji Riwan-Disu. I've told the whole world that the election before, during, after will be free, fair, credible, and transparent. He has told the whole world that it will be free and fair. And then police will be neutral in the election process. Thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you so much, sir. Celestine, well, you've heard from him, and well, I think basically that is the gist. It's for free, fair, and credible election, and of course, anti-cultism and anti-violence. That's what this march largely is about. Besides that, I would also like to, to chip it in that it's not just the police and youth organization. It's also a collaborative initiative by other security operatives. You can see officers of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, equally here, fighting, the battle against drug abuse. And that's pretty much what is happening here. There will be other activities, like I said, leading towards the election. But for today and for now, this is it. Just before we go, there is also one of the organizers here who I would like to speak to.
The National Coordinator for Police Campaign Against Cultism and Other Vices. Pokakov.
Okay. The observation recently is that most of the political violence in Osun State is caused by rivalry groups. What is your opinion based on?
We are here today as the Nigerian Police Force, collaborating with National Association of Nigerian Students, NANS. We are here with National Youth Corps, NYSC. We are here with different partners to tell the whole world that we are fighting against electoral violence. We have organized this work, the Nigerian Police Force has organized this work. IGP Olatunji Riwan-Disu has directed that we organize a walkathon to assure the good people of Osun State that the election is free, fair, and without any form of intimidation. And that's why we have all gathered here in collaboration with members of the public to assure people of Osun State that they should vote and not fight. We are campaigning against any form of electoral violence whatsoever. We are encouraging Nigerian youth to come out and vote, and they shouldn't be afraid of being intimidated whatsoever. The police is here to ensure that your vote counts. And so that's why we are here this morning, just to create that awareness to the good people of Osun State and Nigerians that we are, as police, ensuring that you have that confidence that you will not be intimidated whatsoever. You have that confidence that we expect you to come out and vote, because your vote is your power.
Thank you so much, Celestine. Well, basically, that is the gist for here, the gist for today, and what the conversation is about. Basically, vote, not fight, and basically ensure that the election is peaceful, free, fair, and credible. Back to you in the studio.
Thank you so much, Benedict Katie, for that update. Of course, election is close by. We'll see how that pans out. Thank you, Bernard. Now let's go on a short break. When we return, Breakfast Extra continues. Stay with us.
Welcome again. It's the second hour for Breakfast Extra. Now, 30 years after guiding Nigeria to its first and only Olympic football gold medal at the Atlanta Games in 1996, former Dream Team coach Bonfrey Joe has expressed disappointment over what he described as years of neglect and a lack of recognition from the Nigerian government. From unpaid bonuses and delayed allowances to concerns over healthcare, retirement benefits and career support, many of Nigeria's sporting heroes have repeatedly spoken about the challenges they face long after the spotlight fades.
And the story of Bonfrey Joe is only one chapter in a much larger conversation about the welfare of Nigerian athletes and coaches. Many argue that Nigeria has struggled to build a sustainable system that adequately rewards and protects the men and women who dedicate their lives to representing the nation. So beyond the medals and the national pride, are Nigerian athletes getting the support they deserve? And what reforms are needed to ensure that those who fly the country's flag are not forgotten once the applause dies down? Now, joining us to discuss this crucial issue is former Minister of Youth and Sports, Solomon Dalung. Mr. Dalung, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Now, having been a Minister of Sports, how would you assess the current situation in terms of welfare for our athletes? What would you say is our biggest gap?
Well, the biggest gap, based on my experience as a minister, is first, the Nigerian political elites and administrators are yet to come to terms with what sports represents currently. They still see sports recreation. And so investment in sports had been quite discouraging. And it is the poor investment in sports that is responsible for the also poor welfare scheme for athletes, sports administrators, and all actors in the sport industry. Because if you look at the budgetary allocation for sports, it is so paltry in comparison to what is obtainable in other climes. And then if you look at the attitude, the political will of government towards investing in sports, is also not something that can be taken seriously. And so the sum total of the lack of political will, the lack of looking at sports as a multi-trillion-dollar industry, and then the corruption that has been so endemic in the administration of sports, put together, reduce the welfare of sports and then the technical component of sports to the current predicament they find themselves. So I think if we must look at it positively, then take a look at these factors I've enumerated.
Mr. Dalung, I wanted to know, and this is coming off of the issue with Bonfrey Joe from recently, and this also expands to much more than just Bonfrey Joe. There are other sport athletes who would like to have this question answered. I'm wondering, as a sports person who goes out to represent the country, exactly where do I belong? Am I an employee of the government? Am I a beneficiary of support? Or am I just simply volunteering my talent? And I'm asking this regarding welfare. While we're putting these guys out there to represent the country, what welfare comes to them after? Noting how short a lifespan a sports career is when you compare it to other careers. So who do I work for, or how do I apply into the system as an individual who is representing the country when it comes to sports outside of the country?
Well, athletes are not employees of either the government or any of the national federations. They are just patriots who volunteered their skills and talents at a time of need to try to promote the name, image of their country. And this is where the problem lies. And this is also where they are exploited by the sports administrators. Because sport administrators just see them as volunteers. So there is no any contract signed between them and the national or the sporting federations that invited them to camps or invited them to participate in these games. So at the end of the day, there is nothing at all meant for them apart from the allowances and bonuses that the federation design and approve as maybe remuneration for whatever skills they will have contributed. But those who smile home with the huge budget prepared for such tournaments or such competitions are the sport administrators. Because if they win, they take more of the glory because they are employee of the National Federation and some of them are employee of the federal government. There's some of the national federation, like the Nigerian Football Federation, takes direct funding from the federal government. So the Secretary General and all other officials there are more or less employees of the federal government because they are paid from budgetary allocations. But for the athletes, they are just like laborers hired for maybe skilled labor. And when it's time, they are just given peanuts as allowances or bonuses for whatever they would have been able to achieve. If they fail to achieve, of course, they live only on their bonuses and allowances. But if they succeed, then they benefit from this scheme I designed while in office, that any athlete who earned a gold medal will have $5,000 and silver $3,000 and then bronze $2,005. I don't know whether they have sustained the scheme up till now or they have improved on it, but that was one of the initiatives I introduced while in office. While in office, I actually dealt with this problem of the welfare of athletes, but the report was abandoned immediately I left office because I set up a sport.
In fact, you did, sir. And I remember this. In 2018, you said athletes' welfare was to be prioritized. In March of 2019, you said government would stop funding what you described as excessive sports federations. You stop the excesses in sports federation and instead direct investments towards athletes and coaches. But in the same 2018, we had a situation where the Falconets were not paid their allowances. So I'm wondering how come you as sports minister back then, recognize the problem, proffer a solution, and yet in 2026, we're still having that issue now. Where did that problem come from? Did it come from the authorities or the administration or the machinery when you were in office, or is it from after? Has it persisted, or is it getting any better, would you say?
Well, in 2018, the problem of the Falconets was just I had to sacrifice my name to be attacked, to be abused, to save the government. But the problem basically was not from me because I raised a memo for that competition 3 months, and the memo was in the office of the president for 3 months without response. I made repeated visits to the villa and nobody attended to me. So I decided to travel in solidarity with the team, and I was in Cameroon when they won the trophy and we came back together. But shortly have we arrived in Nigeria, those who sat on the memo rushed to the airport to receive the team, took them to the State House and called me to say, they were here protesting. And I said, I'm also coming with my own leave, which will be bigger because I will join them in the protest. Because the memo for their allowances had been sitting or sleeping in the office of one of the persons in the presidency. Immediately I said that, he hung up and they got money from nowhere and paid them and they left on. So I just decided to take, just like Jesus took the cross of humanity. Yeah, to take the cross of that wrongdoing so that to protect the government. Because if I had come up to tell Nigerians that, look, a memo meant to provide funds for this team was sleeping in one of the offices for over 3 months in the presidency, of course, that would have been too damaging for the government. So for the government to be blamed, I preferred to carry the cross like Joseph Varetemai, who helped Jesus to Golgotha, but the problem wasn't from me at all. Now, why have the problem persisted? You see, many people who are in sports administration are not there because they have passion for sports, but they are there because of the very lucrative and cheap funds available, unaccountable funds that are available for them there. You see, in sports, the sports administrator work harder for failure than success. Because if the team fail, they have more money to smile homeward than the team succeeding. Because the sum total of all the allowances and the benefits of the team is computed from the beginning and handed over to the federation. So if Nigeria crashed at the group of 16, first round, the entire budget to finance has been handed over to the federation. So they can only just pay for the allowances and bonuses of that round of 16. The players will live for the various team in bitterness and anger, while they will smile back home with their bank accounts pregnant.
Mr. Dalung.
With the balance.
Mr. Dalung. Yes, you've mentioned a lot of issues in terms of there are people sitting on allowances that's meant to go to the people who have worked for it. Now, I think my question is, you know, surfing through the internet, you see all the complaints as to allowances, how we're losing athletes to other countries. And it seems like when it's time for the World Cup or whatever competition, it seems like Nigerians just like the name of being a part of. So would you say outrightly that we are the ones, we are the mastermind of our own downfall because we're not doing what needs to be done to make sure that our team are being taken care of and strengthened? Because if these are the issues they're having to go through now, down to even borrowing equipment when they go for competition, what fate is our sports team going to face in the next few years? Are we going to lose them completely if this continues?
In the next few years, I'm not trying to be a prophet of doom, but the future of Nigerian sports will be that we might hardly find people to hire for these dirty jobs where they go, they participate. Sometimes there are no equipment for them to participate. They have to borrow. We'll not find them because, you see, countries invest in talent and they pay heavily to sustain such talents. So if you have a talent that you don't care to invest in it, the moment you put it out internationally, the other countries will just come and buy the talent over and then they use it. So Nigeria is more or less like a discovery camp for talent. But where they are utilized is out there, not for Nigeria. And if we continue like this, I don't think we'll be able to win a bronze in future in any of the sports except for exceptional skills or patriotic Nigerians who will want to wear the green, white, green, that will want to come up. But it is going to be very, very difficult because it's getting worse, like things, the way things are going. But the problem basically is that the political leadership is not interested in solving the problems of sports. Those who have been accused of corruption in sports are still there. In fact, one of the battles I ran while in office was that I took some people to EFCC to investigate them. And of course, yes, it turned back a report to me that 4 people were accused of squandering over 11 billion within the 2 or 3 years period. The case was filed in court, but sadly, the Attorney General went there and withdrew the case. So providing shelter and protection for them how will you expect sports to grow under the circumstance where people are not sanctioned and wrongdoing is more or less emboldened and encouraged? We need to come up much stronger and
Mr.
deal
Dalung.
with this issue.
Mr. Dalung, sorry to butt in, but we only have time for one more question, and I'm going to ask that you be summary. But taking a look back at the bond-free Joe case and the complaints that were made to him, he did redeem some of these promises, but it took 24 years for one of these promises to be fulfilled. And for most sports people who are putting their names and their bodies on the line for PR for Nigeria, I'm wondering what a sports person noting that this is perhaps, well, just a promise and might not be executed, what should they have in mind when they are faced with these instances where they are made promises to? Do they need to have these perhaps notarized or like, what's the word now? Officially stated to them in pen and paper and signature that we would be giving these and that as welfare after your achievements for the country? What should a young sports person know if they are faced with these kinds of issues?
You see, this is something that some of those promises are just mere political promises that successive governments may not lay hand on any document to implement them. Yeah, the dream team that won the first cup, Coca-Cola Cup in 1985, it was in 2015 that when we came to office, and that I went to Jos and saw one of them who was now unable to even fit. And immediately he mentioned his name. I remembered it. So when I came back, I told the president that, look, I met one of the players of 1985 in Jos, and I couldn't recognize him. Babangida Yaros or something like that. I've forgotten his name. And Buhari said, well, I said, yes. So he said, oh, I have reminded him. Let me go around and fish them out, those that are living, so that he can redeem that promise. And I went round and got them. Only one person was late, and he was represented by his son. And they came, he brought them to the villa and redeemed the pledge he made to them. But you can imagine, they were already old. Some of them could not even sustain themselves. You wouldn't believe that these were the people whom we saw when they were younger. So it's a very serious situation. And it's a promise that they cannot enforce because it's not committed in writing. It's just a statement by a political figure while receiving them. He's happy to receive the cup and he made promises. Where will you find the promise to enforce? Sometimes when you go pressing hard for this, you run into muddy waters with the establishment. So it's unfortunate. But for the young people, I don't want them to abandon their country because they have no other country than this. I believe that in future, we may have younger people who will be able to provide political leadership that will invest in sports, see sports as business, and use it to create employment for our young people. But for now, I doubt where we're heading to, really.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Solomon Dalung, for joining us and having this conversation. Of course, from football pitches to athlete tracks, Nigerian athletes have given the nation moments of joy, pride, and international recognition. Yet, for many of them, life after the medals is often marked by uncertainty and neglect. The challenge before policymakers is not simply to celebrate victories, but to build a sports system that values and protects those who make those victories possible. And hopefully this will be sorted soon. Let's go on a short break. When we return, we have more conversations. Stay with us.
Once again, we return to Osun State, where we have News Central correspondent Mercy Babajide, who is she is in Osun, covering the match like we spoke from before, as we spoke to Bernard Akede, the March for Peaceful Elections and also anti-terrorism. She's also going to be telling us other details of what's happening at the moment. Mercy, good morning. Thank you very much for joining Breakfast Extra. Do give us an idea of what's happening in Osun this morning.
Then the major catch this morning is a tweet from Dele Momodu on X, where he spoke about his candid advice to Governor Adeleke, and he said the Progressive Congress will do anything to, of course, come in power. But then let's take into cognizance the fact that earlier this week when we landed in Osogbo, we were told by one of the persons living here about how the governor has reassured them of their safety. And then again, we attended one of the APC's campaign rallies yesterday, and there were songs they were chanting about their court party, stating that, oh, their party does not deal with guns. So now it feels like there's a contradiction given the advice that Dele Momodu, of course, gave the governor this morning on his X.
Okay, then, what about the situation there? There's plenty of chat about the, well, I don't want to call it agitations, but I guess I'll have to. The political agitations going on between both parties, especially between Adeleke and Oyebamiji. Have you heard anything? What are the people saying? What is the chatter around town?
Around town is the fact that some persons, of course, you know, it will be divided. We have people for Oyebamiji, we have the people for Accord Party, but one would say we don't know whether they are loyal or not. But then something that is quite visible is the fact that APC has been able to garner a lot of supporters. As of 8:30 p.m. Yesterday, we were on our way from Ifetedo to Osogbo. It was about 3-4 hours drive. And all through the streets, we had people lined up shouting Ambo, Ambo. And Ambo is the slogan for the All Progressive Congress. But then part of the conversations we had with the media director for the campaign was whether this crowd would, of course, suffice and mean they have large voters. But then we cannot categorically say whether the crowd polling would result to having that votes.
And the tension, is there any at all? Do you think that the peace accord that was signed by the parties is going to hold until after the election?
Well, we do pray it holds, and from Bennett's perspective, I saw a lot of police officers in every junction, and I mean, I don't know if they've resumed this morning, but it looks like they've not resumed, but at every given junction, and then they have lots of called in Nigeria roundabouts, and most of the roundabouts or most of every junction has police officers standing by there. And let's take into cognizance the fact that this election is about 7 days away. So today makes exactly 7 days away from the election. So we do hope that maybe during the course of the day we would see more police officers around town. But for now, it's still things are just bubbling up around this place in town.
Well, thank you so much, Mercy Babajide, for joining and giving us that update. Of course, we have a few more days to election. Hopefully, peace will return to Osun State, and we'll see how that pans out. Thank you so much. Now, let's go on a short break. When we return, we start a new conversation inside of Breakfast Extra. Stay with us.
Breakfast Extra, we have another conversation here. Now, cheap, portable, and readily available sachet alcohol has for years become a common sight in motor parks, roadside kiosks, and also street corners across Nigeria. But beyond its convenience lies a growing concern: the increasing rate of alcohol abuse, particularly among young people and vulnerable communities. In recent weeks, the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, intensified its crackdown on alcoholic beverages packaged in sachet and bottles, launching a nationwide mop-up exercise and shutting down facilities found to be violating the ban. Now, the latest enforcement comes amid concerns that the affordability and accessibility of sachet alcohol have contributed to rising cases of addiction, citing serious public health concerns, particularly for children.
Now, while health experts have applauded the crackdown, others argue that the ban could threaten jobs and disrupt livelihoods. The bigger question, however, remains: will the war against sachet alcohol truly curb alcohol abuse in Nigeria, or does the country need a more comprehensive approach? Now, joining us to unpack this issue is Martins Iluyomade, who is the director of the Investigation and Enforcement Directorate, NAFDAC. Mr. Iluyomade, thank you so much for joining us. Good morning. Now, of course, NAFDAC has intensified its nationwide enforcement against sachet alcohol. Now, in practical terms, how significant is this move in the fight against, alcohol abuse in Nigeria?
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, presenter. This move is very, very practicable. This time we are going full all out. You will recall that last year was the end of the deadline that was given to the manufacturers, and we had so many events that led to what we are doing now, the signing of the alcohol policy, and beginning we gave them a timeline, and we removed all the ones they have produced around February this year. We started this enforcement exercise in different phases, and the phase we are in, right, the first phase was dealing with the manufacturers directly, where we removed what they have in store, and we placed the production lines on hold, not the whole facility. We placed the production line on hold, believing that they will not go ahead and continue with production of sachet alcohol. When we dealt with that, we moved to the next phase, but we went back to the market and discovered that these things are still everywhere. So we had to go back again to these factories to see what was going on. And we saw that many of them has contravened our laws. They contravened what instructions we gave them as a regulator. Many of them, they are producing clandestinely. Many of them doing work at night. Many of them removed our road. Many of them removed and went to a new place. And all manners of shenanigans going on. And this resulted in shutting down the factories where these things are being produced. And arrests were made of those who violated the law. Now, about how significant this is, the significance is huge, because we are noticing now that since they don't have capacity at all to produce, this thing is getting dried from the market, and we are resolved to go full all out this time to make sure that they are no longer produced. Or the significance of it, so curbing alcohol abuse, is very significant, because when this cheap and easily accessible alcohol are no longer in circulation, accessibility is denied. The whole essence of this is not ban on alcohol. Okay. The whole essence of this is reducing access to alcohol for small children and vulnerable population that easily gets addicted to all of this.
Mr. Iluyomade, now I like that you've gotten to the word here. The buzzword for me here is accessibility. If the reform is to take these accessible bits of product out of the market so that children don't get them, alcohol abuse is tamed, I'm wondering whether it's effective, because it seems to me like this policy simply targets people who are in a lower cater, the poor, who can afford these kinds of packaging or packaged alcohol. And if you take these out of the market, if you enforce this and you take them out of the market, are you really curbing anything? Because if I can't find them in the market as a poor person, I will be forced to use other alternatives that might not be regulated, that might be even much more dangerous. I don't know if you agree with me. And by the way, this doesn't affect people who can afford large quantities, who can afford those quantities that are legal to sell in bigger bottles. So it's creating a divide where the poor might be the only ones who are suffering from the enforcement of this ban on sachet and PET bottle alcohol, while those who are rich or can afford these can still abuse alcohol because they have the money to. Do you agree with this?
No, I know that's part of the conversations we've had in time past, and we've looked at it. If you look at the demography of people that normally buy this particular alcohol, we have the vulnerable, that's the children, mostly young adults, people of school ages.
We'll try and regain connection with Mr. Iluyomade, but I don't know if you understand or agree with what I'm saying. This is a question that confronted me while we were making research for this conversation here. The fact that poor people, who are the ones who would normally patronize these sachet kinds of alcohol or packages would be the ones who suffer the most. And there's also something, a bigger threat, where if I don't get it in sachets, then I'll have to resort to maybe, not even just the bottles, maybe other illegal means, or maybe other unregulated means, like people who might just simply bootleg alcohol because I can't afford it in sachet anymore. I'll take it in the cup if it comes out of a jerry can, if you can afford to give it to, or get it to me. So it might be driving it further underground, is my point, and it might not be helping the situation, especially the argument when it comes to alcohol abuse or accessibility at all, because we know how you can get these.
Well, it's funny because now we're talking about alcohol, but a lot of people don't understand this is tied to so many things. Why do people take alcohol in the first place? It's to ease out stress. The country is stressful. We can tell. We've seen different complaints or how, low-income earners are going through so much.
Okay.
So just to release stress and everything, that's their resource. If we find a way to, like you said, all the recreational centers in Festac turn to, 10-story buildings and stuff. If we can find other means where people can relax, I don't think alcohol will be the last solution. But I think we have Mr. Iluyomade back. Mr. Iluyomade, are you still with us?
I'm hoping you heard the last question I asked you regarding accessibility, and if it's actually helping the situation or driving it further underground. So I was asking, I said, is this really helping the situation, this ban on sachet and PET bottle alcohol, or is it driving it further underground? Because it seems to be targeting just the poor people who are, well, the bigger patrons when it comes to these sachet packages. And if I can't find my sachet package as a poor person, would I not be forced to try other means? Would I not be forced to try other illegal means, bootlegged alcohol, for instance? So is it really solving the problem, or is it driving it further underground?
Yes, it's solving the problem. Is not driving it further underground. As with everything that is banned, we know that people will look for every opportunity to look for it in different ways. But like I said at the beginning, it's not alcohol consumption that is banned. It is accessibility to it. More children. And I want to say that Nigeria is not the only country that has banned this. We have banned this because of the effect. In the first instance, I know we're talking about the alcohol consumption, and it's the poor that will suffer it. Now, everybody knows that alcohol is a drug. It's not. People think it's just if people want to release stress and all of that. Because I had your conversation where you were mentioning that no recreational centers and all of that. Now, if people want to, if you will take something and it will help you remove your stress, it means that that's a drug, not just something of recreation. And it has effect. WHO already, all the diseases are documented. And but we want to leave the choice for adults to take. We want to leave the choice of drinking, over drinking, damaging your kidney and all of that to adults to take. Not to make it easily accessible for young children to take over these things, use them, and then become addicts even before they finish, even before they get to end of secondary school. And you know that for every crime that you see in this country, alcohol is at the base of it. If we are talking about the national security and all of that, there's nowhere you see anybody who is into crime who is also known on alcohol and drugs. So alcohol is being documented is a prelude or precursor to using of drugs. And so if we're going to allow our children to have easy accessibility to this at a young age, then as a nation we are sitting on the keg of gunpowder. So to us, it's not. We are not saying this is the only thing that should be done, but we are saying that let's curb the accessibility to this, because we have not stopped alcohol consumption at all. But let's take care of the vulnerable out of the equation, and then the adults can take a decision by themselves of what they want to do with themselves.
Of course, alcohol abuse has been, linked to domestic violence, road accidents, and rising crime rates. Now, do you have any data to support this, this claim?
Yes, very well. We have data, and we publish the data in in March this year, we can afford you that the whole thing. It's a whole full document looking at the link between insecurity, alcohol consumption, and even organ damage and all of that. We have data that shows all of this.
Okay. Well, Mr. Iluyomade, I'm wondering whether the problem is actually packaging or whether the problem is enforcement. Because this ban has been in place since 2018. It's 2026 now, and we're still fighting the same sachet alcohol. So is it that Nigeria has the inability to consistently monitor and also enforce this ban or this policy? Or is the problem packaged alcohol itself? Which is it exactly?
So the problem is not ability to place ban. I want to make some things very clear here this morning. One, any crime or anything that people are doing that is bringing a lot of resources, it is always very difficult to stop, because people will throw the resources at these things and make sure that the policies do not work. But from 2018, it wasn't as if we didn't want to. It's not as if a problem of. It's not a problem of banning. It's a problem of we gave moratorium for 5 years, because this argument came at that time saying we've invested so much, we bought machines, we've done all of that. There's going to be job losses. There's going to be all of that. And so, as an agency, our job is not just to make sure that people are out of job and all of. We gave 5 years of moratorium for people to redesign their machines, reassign it, and use it to produce a higher volume of alcohol, not the one we banned. 5 years was enough for anybody to do the right thing, but it was not done. When 5 years was expiring, they quickly ran to different places, National Assembly and everywhere, even to Ministry of Health, and asked for an extension of the ban. 1 year extension was granted, making 6 years. So it's not as if this is the first time we're actually going all out to enforce. So 6 years was 6 years for the ban was due to moratorium for anybody who is interested in production of alcohol to change to a pack size that is approved. So it's also a problem of enforcement. I think it's this year that enforcement actually started. And I even think that this is even this last month we started because the other one we did, we just advised, move the product from the manufacturers, from their warehouses, without making any noise about it. But we saw that they were not willing to stop, and that's why we started this enforcement. It is now that people will see the real enforcement and the going all out, which we have started, and we're already seeing the effect in the market. But we will not stop until this is totally out of anywhere in this country.
Well, one more thing, Mr. Iluyomade. Now, you talked about the back and forth that happened at the beginning when this was suggested as a ban. NAFDAC had a stand. The National Assembly had a different stand. There were very different stands here and there regarding the situation. But I'm wondering who exactly really has the final word on the ban. Is it NAFDAC? Is it the National Assembly? What other authorities? Because it was put forward and then it was reneged upon. So I'm wondering exactly which authority has this final say on the ban. Is it NAFDAC?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. The law has the final authority. The regulator has the final authority, and Nigeria as a country has the final authority. So the ban is subsisting now, is signed into law. The alcohol policy is signed by the Federal Minister of Health, and we as a regulatory agency has the right to regulate any kind of food and drink in this country, and the law has been allowed to take its course. So we have the final. Let me see. NAFDAC has the final ban, has the final authority, has the final say, in line with the directives of the the law setting up NAFDAC and the backing of the National Assembly. So everybody is on the same page now, both Ministry of Health, the National Assembly, the federal government, the presidency. Everybody is on the same page now on this ban. So there's no back and forth anymore.
Well, Mr. Martins Iluyomade won't say thank you. Like you said, they will see the real enforcement. It's been 6 years, and hopefully this enforcement has come to stay and our streets will be cleaner. Thank you so much for joining and having this conversation. Now, the battle against alcohol abuse in Nigeria raises broader questions about public health, regulation, youth protection, and personal responsibility. As NAFDAC continues its nationwide crackdown, many Nigerians will be watching closely to see whether the policy delivers lasting change or merely shifts the problem elsewhere. One thing, however, is clear. Curbing alcohol abuse will require more than enforcement. It will demand education, awareness, and a collective commitment from all stakeholders. Now let's go on a short break. When we return, we have another conversation. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back. It's our very first big report this morning, albeit coming late. Now, access to quality healthcare is a fundamental right. Yet, for many residents of Badagry's riverine communities, it remains a daily struggle. Separated by waterways and challenged by limited infrastructure, thousands of people must travel long distances by boat to access basic medical services.
In emergencies, these delays can mean the difference between life and death. Our investigative reporter, Francis Senwon, visited some communities and has this report.
In the 1800s, when the Christian missionaries arrived in what is now Nigeria, Badagry first received them. The missionaries brought with them Christianity, Western education, and new forms of social development. It was from here the missionaries celebrated Nigeria's first Christmas, built the first formal Western school, and completed the country's first story building in 1845. The structures left behind still stand as the earliest signs of development for Badagry. But for some communities separated by the sea, that progress never made it by boat to them. Across the waters are dozens of isolated riverine communities. Dadi Louis is a close-knit community. Everyone here knows everyone. They have to. They depend on one another for support. Help from outside is a boat ride too far. The only school in the community, Azuma International School, closed its doors to children living within the community.
Ìkan tó wá gba ibi tó ní òun máa kọ́ àwọn ọmọ nílé gbogbo kálukú àwọn ọmọlé àwọn jẹ́lé òsinmi gbogbo onígbẹ́ gbogbo wọn kó wọn síbẹ̀ oníkálukú inú ẹ̀ ń dùn pé àwọn ọmọ kéékèèké wọ́n lọ léèwé ìgbà tó yá tíṣà ní owó ọkọ̀ ti pọ̀ jù wọ́n lè máa san owó yẹn.
And you know the danger of carrying all these young small kids to be crossing water. At times when by the time they enter the boat, all these apapa, all those and what is called speed boat, they will just go and they won't slow down. They will just go.
In spite of Badagry boasting of many firsts, stories of loss and pain abound owing to an almost absence of government presence.
If you get any problem here, it's either you run to the other houses to give you a boat or whatever to cross to the other side. Sometimes when you are going on the way, you lose the very person.
It was not always like this. About 10 years ago, the government built a hospital at the edge of the community, and medical care was just a walk away.
àti ìrìn yìí náà ni kí tó sọ pé mo rìn láti àtẹ̀tún pé tí ó bá ti ń pé olú ẹ̀ rí mọ́tò ń sìn pé bólú ẹ̀ bá ti lọ sí irú èyí tí ń sà bá rí ọkọ̀ tó máa gbé lọ sọ́dà mi lè sọ pé mo lè gun ọ̀kadà báyìí ní àfi tí bá rí mọ́tò tó lè máa gbéyàn lọ ká máa gbéyàn bọ̀ tó lè máa fi bọ̀ wá sílé.
The journey from Dadi Louis to Orocheti takes about 10 minutes. From there, it takes another 30-minute drive to Badagry General Hospital. In all, residents spend about 40 minutes just to reach the hospital, a facility understaffed and overstretched.
You
reality is that Badagry General Hospital is serving a large population. In fact, from my 2 down to this place, this is the only general hospital available.
Sometimes ago, I have to engage the Commissioner for Health that this is what is happening in my area. So what the Commissioner put in place is coastal line, a mobile boat clinic that will be taking care of those people. So at a point, they are short of budget. So because it wasn't included in the budget, so what we have to do is just to go back and get money for them to start not only that community, all the coastal communities along the shore.
Every afternoon around 3 p.m., boats return to Daddy Louis, carrying the children home from schools. Just as we left without life jackets, the children travel each day without their life jackets, and sometimes in overcrowded boats.
Some boats, they get jackets, some boats, they don't get jackets. The jacket I get, you know, go with the children, where they inside boats, because the children is too plenty.
The waterways that once carried missionaries, Christianity, and development into Badagry now carry residents in search of healthcare, education, and survival. For the people of Daddy Louis, the question is no longer whether development reached Badagry, but why it never crossed the waters to them. Their hopes now lie within whatever community efforts they can muster among themselves just to keep their lives on this historic island alive. In Lagos for News Central, Francis Esenwa.
And joining us for this conversation, we have our investigative reporter, Francis Esenwa. Francis, good morning. It's good to see you. I think every time I see you, I poke you and say, what's the next thing you're doing?
Yes,
what's the next thing?
Finally, you've seen it.
I have. So tell us about, what made you go all the way to this community. You said it's Daddy Louis? Daddy Louis. Yeah. So
Daddy.
just
according to how you pronounce
see,
it.
Nigeria and names of places. Just tell us what happened. How did you get there? What made you do this report?
Someone reached out to the investigative unit and told us how residents were traveling on boats and how students were sort of trapped on the island. They didn't have education and they didn't have healthcare. So you have the island fighting a war on 2 fronts. People are falling sick. People can't travel. The woman that you saw, the woman on blue, that she has a leg issue. She had been going to the hospital all up until last year, when she could not pay the transport anymore. It was too much. She couldn't pay transport. She could not pay money for drugs. And we asked, okay, what are you doing? I said, I just stay here. And she's resigned to her fate just like that. So we heard that and we decided to come and tell that story for them because it seems like they're isolated from government present.
Were you able to meet any local government chairman, anybody who's in charge of their area? Did they say anything?
Yes, we did. We spoke with the member of the Lagos State Assembly, the one that represents them. So the issue, according to what they said, it's a budgeting issue. A while ago, he said they had boats, medical boats along the shoreline, but some reasons it didn't meet up the budget again. So now the people have now been left to now take care of themselves because they could not meet the budget. This is actually very funny. So if you cannot account for the people in the budget, then what are you accounting for? What are you building for? What are you trying to help the people with? So that was what he said. And so he also now said that it's going to be a speedy issue. I'm going to try to make it quickly. So in my head, I was going, why you're trying to do that? I can still remember the woman. So funny thing is, a sad thing is, the woman with the leg issue has a son. The son is almost blind. We didn't know this at the time. So while we're interviewing the woman, he passed the camera and we're like, we're waving, trying to... You couldn't see? Someone just stopped us and said, he can't see. So you have in a house an old woman who can't walk and a son who can't see. Oh. And we have in the Lagos State Assembly, they are reworking a budget. So the timeline is what scares me. How long would they be able to do that before that woman and others like her have help?
There's even much more to consider. The children who are in boats crossing over, how long does it take them from... This is an island, yeah?
Yes, an island.
Daddy Louis. It's an island, and they have to school. They don't have schools on that island?
There was a school up to 3 or 4 years ago. Now, it takes 500 naira to get from the port jetty to the island. So when we got there, they told us that...
How many minutes ride?
A 7 to 10 minutes ride. Okay. So when we got there, the residents told us that that's a school, that it was running up to 3 or 4 years ago. Then the teacher came from the mainland, that's Badagry town, and there were 3 of them. So that's 3 teachers, 1,500 going, 1,500 coming back, that's 3,000 naira. Teachers per day. The teacher said, this is too much. It's a private school, this is too much for us. Would you mind, we have to go back? The students would now have to
come to us.
So now that's the problem. The students coming to you means
they will have to pay that 500.
They will have to pay that 500 each day. And you saw the children there.
It's not even the 500 naira that I'm even concerned about. It's the fact that these kids had no life jackets.
When I was going, as we were saying,
Did you have a life jacket?
I didn't have a life. I asked the guy laughed at me. He laughed at me. Said, like, you're not ready to go.
No.
So we had to. Of course, we will go where the story is, but it was not. I was holding the boat like this.
Yes, that's another definition for fearless reporting.
Yeah.
This is the fearless reporting that Francis is doing.
Now, no, I'm sorry, Queen, but yes. There's more to that. So this affects education.
Yes.
This affects healthcare. Yeah. Because we saw the video of the hospital there. Where's that hospital? Is this the hospital?
No, that's the school. The school is also even paid. Yeah, no longer runs.
There was also the hospital with the entire roof off of that.
Yes.
Do they have markets? Is this a self-sustaining community?
It's a self-sustaining community.
But they don't have schools and
They don't have schools. They don't have people live. They no school, no hospital.
So that's not a self-sustaining community then, because that's just. So the member representing at the assembly, what specific notes did he make regarding Daddy Louis? Was there any specific targeted approach for helping the citizens or the people of this town?
As government would say, as they always say, we see you, we hear you, we're going to work on that. Now, he did understand that it was not just that community. So if along those shorelines, there are also pockets of other communities, and they are also saying the same thing. We are just left alone. So that's the hospital that you were referring to earlier.
Yeah, that's the hospital.
Yeah, so funny thing is, that hospital was also functioning. The problem was, there was a night.
What's he taking out of the ground here? I'm sorry.
He's a farmer. Oh, that's also another sad. So that's also another sad reality.
Tell us.
The community is basically a farming community.
Okay.
Now the community leased a very, very huge land, a large portion of its land to an international company that do crayfish. Now to do crayfish, you need salt water.
Yes.
So as they were farming the crayfish, the salt water broke into the farms.
Oh no!
So that's him fixing. So you see those pipes running down.
Yes.
So people irrigation. Now create their own. So his pipe got burst.
Oh, so he's fixing.
He's fixing it. So now he was closer. His farmland was closer to the water. So when the salt water burst into their own irrigation system, it spoiled their crops.
Yeah.
So they had to leave that whole area. So you have a whole section of the land spot already. So people are now walking, coming in. So we met him in a residential area where people are actually staying because he had been pushed back from his farmland. So he's just coming. So it seems they have no healthcare, they have no school, and now even their food.
With their food source. I'm very sorry, Queen. Initially, I said that living in Badagry and these places, living in this kind of isolation is refreshing. I was wrong.
Just the air, maybe.
Just the air.
I wanted to ask, how many people are in this community? Were you able to find out? And this island, you know how it is now. Well, there's nowhere to put the red mark. Is it a government-owned land, or the people there own these lands?
It's their land. It's their land. They own the land. So as to how many people, it's quite tricky. It depends on. They told us it depends on when you're coming. Now, during the festivities, harvest, people come. Now, the land is almost abandoned. You have few people there. So those that are there, those that are the farmers, those that have land that they can't just leave. But for the young people, the youths, they've gone out. In fact, the contact person that brought us there, when they saw him, you're here? They accused him of abandoning them. Now, he stays in Badagry town. He left them years ago.
They were surprised to see him come back.
He said, they just have to come back to help see if this story is anything. But people are leaving. Now, when you have a community filled with elderly and too young, that's very dangerous.
Yeah.
You have people who are too weak to do anything, and people who do not even know, that's young, who don't even know how to do anything. So there's that gap. So the people that you see there, are those who have just resigned to their fate. What else can come?
I was thinking, and I can't imagine any other place that's best for this. I mean, we've lost our entire shoreline when it comes to this part of town, the island, all the way because of the Bola Ahmed Tinubu highway.
Coastal.
Yeah, coastal highway. So, but I agree. I mean, it's a prime place. I've been there. It's peaceful, quite frankly. Yeah. It's also a very big heritage site.
Yes.
Talking about slave trade, it's not just a Nigerian point to note. It's a West African, it's an African, it's a Black American. When you talk about heritage, that's where. So how come we're not paying all of this attention to this place, Badagry? Why is it still in the state that we find it? Why can't we? Why do you think, as a journalist, what you discovered since you were there, what challenges could it be where it comes to the fact that we can't harness its tourism potential? So
when you get to Badagry town is like every other place in Lagos. It's busy. Bikes are pushing you, people are moving, it's busy. But when you go to the outskirts, when you're about to board a boat, it's different. It's as if it's not like we're asking, is this part of Lagos? It is part of Lagos. And you think you find it somewhere, not to mention any other state, but you think you find it in other states that you think are not as developed as Lagos. But you're seeing here, a community does not have healthcare, a community does not have a school. They don't have light, actually. They don't have light. They don't have light. They don't. So it's, fend for yourself.
How do they communicate with the outside world?
With the outside world,
by boat.
By boat, exactly, by boat.
So you take your phone to the other side.
By boat.
To
they do have a solar. This is as big as my phone that everybody just connects to. Then you charge for the day. You go your way. Come back again when it's dead. So anything you want to do, and you go by boat. When we were leaving, we saw people with wholesale foodstuff. Yeah. They had gone. Had bought.
They returned.
And you said it takes 7 to 10 minutes.
7 to 10 minutes, yes.
So if it takes 7 to 10 minutes, it's been 3 years since they last have a hospital and education, and the government is saying, I see you, I hear you.
For a 7-minute journey. A 7-minute journey. So they said when it's election, they know how to find.
What happens during the elections?
Oh, no, it's not too far. 7 minutes is not too far. 7 minutes is not too far.
You see the stickers and then
you see the photo ops, you see the cap. You say, oh, we see you actually. Would you?
So when you spoke to this local government, the man in charge, what did he say? Did he give you a timeline as to when this will be fixed? And now that this has come to the light of so many people?
Sadly, no timeline was given. What he said was it's taken as a matter of urgency. Now, when the urgent day will come, we do not know. But we're hoping, as we're talking about this now, as we've played the reports, it adds to that level of urgency. They begin to see that this is actually a serious matter. So it's easy to just quote stats and whatever, this particular shoreline. But when I got there, when they told me the story before I left, I said, okay, yeah, so what's okay, I understand. But when you get there, it's a different thing entirely. Yeah. Seeing the woman limping, she has a walking stick, limping to go and cook, then coming to give the boy that cannot see. It's really, really disturbing.
What would progress look like? What do the people want from their local government, from Lagos State government?
They have, funny thing, so when they said they had even given land to the government, said they had cordoned off this part. Okay, come and help us build a school. We've given you land. Just help us build a school. Just help us build a hospital. No response. That is basically what they're asking for. Healthcare, education. I think it's as simple as that. It's not. They're not asking for too much. If you'd ask me, it's just take care of us. Take care of us. That's all.
Not even take care. I think the word is just give us the basic amenities since we're under your state.
It is our right.
But no, we have. Okay, I will keep it to myself, Masiro.
Well, Francis, thank you very much for the great work you do under our investigative desk. Is it over or under? Thank you for the job you do. And also, we'll continue to bring you over on here to highlight some of the good ones, the great ones. All of them are good. And we do hope that the people of Badagry town, Daddy Louis, we do hope that they get succor and that they get the response that they need from the Nigerian government, or at least the local government there. Do stay with us. We've got more coming up, at least one more conversation inside for Breakfast Extra. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. Now, as political activities gradually gather momentum ahead of the 2027 general elections, an old controversy has once again found its way into the national conversation. the academic records and certificate of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The issue, which featured prominently during the 2023 election cycle, has resurfaced following renewed political and legal debates, with supporters maintaining that the matter has been settled by the courts, while critics insist questions of transparency and accountability remain.
So beyond politics, the renewed debate raises broader questions about electoral integrity, candidate qualification, the role of the judiciary, and whether issues from previous elections should continue to shape Nigeria's political discourse as preparations for 2027 are in top gear. Joining us for this conversation is we are expecting the Director of Schools and Social Politics Thoughts, that's Mr. Dr. Sam Amadi, but for now we have Executive Director, Electoral College, Nigeria, Kunle Lawal. Mr. Kunle Lawal, you are welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. Kunle, yet again, as we approach another election, we have this matter on the table. Everybody's talking about the president's qualifications. Last I checked, however, to run this country, you don't need anything more than a school certificate. So why is this all of a sudden relevant all over again?
It's funny for me because when of course we started we moved to this particular Fourth Republic, I was expecting, a new sunrise for democracy and not things like this, which are supposed to be dealt with a long time. It's a pre-election matter. As regards this, I think why it surfaced again is that someone instituted a case, I think in June, in Kano, if I'm right, to say that the president should not be allowed to run in 2027 elections now because of his qualifications. Now, we must be clear on this and very, very clear on this. In 2022, preceding to his 2023 race, all these cases were cleared. And, even the United States, a court clearly stated that there should be a discovery. Now, most people will educate this to mean that it means there was a forgery. There wasn't a forgery. It was Chicago State University being asked to present the certificates of the president or provide the certificates of the president to the president. So that's the present issue. But I think where we have a quagmire within things is that politically in Nigeria, I would say we're emotional. And then secondly, institutional basis isn't that strong. We don't have a strong set of institutions because I think by now INEC should have a verification system for certificates. This goes to say the supporters of the present president, yes, it means his university has been cleared, which was what it submitted in 2023 and now 2027 has been cleared, but it also does not mean that other certificates have been verified. Mm-hmm. And to people who are in the opposition, it also states that because there was a court in the US advocating, saying that there should be a discovery on the certificates doesn't mean he forged them. Mm. So it's kind of like, most people trying to more or less act like there's depending on what you're supporting, we're kind of caught within the crossfire between both sides. Mm-hmm. But I would like to add this, that if INEC had a proper certificate verification system, which we should have had in place because of that particular clause, which I think Section 137 or so, which states that we require at least a certificate. So we all know that you can't go to university without a WAEC certificate, with a WAEC result. So this should all have been cleared. I feel it's a failure of institutional operation by INEC.
Mm. One more thing. You mentioned the Chicago State University. They actually confirmed that the president did attend the university and that he graduated in 1979, if I'm not mistaken. Shouldn't that be enough to have this matter not reoccur again? For me, it's the fact that it's been attended to. It continues being attended to each time it comes up, which is each time we're heading to an election. So, why are we continuing to give this relevance?
I think we've gathered something that we inherited from the military junta. There's always attack, whoever is president. This is not the thing is that we forget we're in democracy. Things which are relevant, we should be having conversations on, like, has the president delivered on his promise, yes or no? The situation of Nigeria, is it better before he took over, and is it no, or yes or no? We aren't showcasing such matters, and at this point, I would say the opposition is doing quite a weak job at buttressing what, you know, the president's supposed to do. They seem to like the same old screen rhetoric. And the incumbent too are doing the same thing. They're kind of acting like they are not in governance, and they're acting like the opposition. So we rarely have ideological conversations in Nigeria about what we should actually be discussing. This rhetoric just starts up with somebody picks it up, and then you start, if you're going to employ somebody, is this how the person will come out? Is this what will happen? I for one, have never really thought that educational qualifications boost. I'm not saying there shouldn't be an educational qualification, but I'm saying that high educational qualifications do not necessarily boost leadership skills. And a very good example is Winston Churchill, who I think dropped out of high school and remains one of Britain's best prime ministers. There are many examples around the world. Even I'm sure like a contestant like Peter Obi, who came out to the third class in university, would now be given an honorary degree in Harvard based on his business acumen, as he's been able to manage himself to become a billionaire. So, you know, those questions and those rhetorics, I feel, are relevant. Right now, we have a serious problem in Nigeria. We're probably most disjointed as a united country right now based on politics. We've been having conversations which aren't real. So this certificate saga, as we keep flogging it, as courts have dealt with it, but in 2023, courts in Nigeria cleared this. I don't even know why we clear things in court and still go to another court, you know, and keep going up to get to the Supreme. It's tiring. It's not the kind of conversation I think we should be having right now.
Well, I think we're now joined by Dr. Sam Amadi, who is the director of Abuja School and Social Political Thought. Dr. Amadi, thank you so much for joining us. Now, in terms of this certificate situation, what's your take on it? It's been going off and on. It keeps rising after, you know, they've buried it. What do you have to say about this coming up again?
Well, first, thank you for having me. I think we have to clear two things. First, the issue is not whether you need to have a certificate to be qualified to lead. We know that many leaders across the world do not boast of very robust academic qualifications. Some do. Like in the past maybe 10 years, all the British prime ministers of 5-7 years have gone to the famous Oxford and the famous PPE, Politics, Philosophy, and Economics degree. But we'd had Margaret Thatcher and John Major, who probably had diplomas or some other kind of lower certification. That's not the point here. And I agree that maybe even our constitution shouldn't even bother about education qualification. But the point is legality and due process. So if the constitution says this is a qualification, then you have to check for it. Number two, truth on oath. I think the way I look at Bola Tinubu's issue is that, well, of course, the Supreme Court was very, very remiss in the last election. Most of the rulings were bad. I can tell you that as a former law professor. But let's leave that as it is. The court did not determine. The court determining issues sometimes say it's unnecessary. It should have gone to trial. It should have gone to different courts. So there are several reasons in which the court did not pronounce that Tinubu had certificate or didn't have certificate. The court closed that conversation based on some issues. Now, back to the real point here. My worry is, as I was a regulator for 5 years, if there's a filing before you, and the law says, okay, when the law says you have to have X to be qualified, and let's leave Bola Tinubu now. There is now a senator in Enugu State we hear who has finished primary 6. It doesn't add up. His law degree. These are the prudential check INEC should do. So if in 1999, Bola Tinubu put in schools, this is evidence of record, said I went to primary school in X place, I went to secondary school in X place, and went to university. And in 2036, because of allegations that he never went to those schools, that he couldn't provide evidence of those schools, he now says 0, 0. The regulator, which is what INEC is, and I've said this in 2019, INEC is a regulator. INEC is not a printer of ballot boxes and no transitions. The regulator will say, provide explanation. In fact, this is common sense. Even you as a broadcasting channel, your MBS or your licensee, You provide evidence. They call you back and say something's missing. So it could be that Bola Ahmed Tinubu went to secondary school or primary school. It doesn't matter. He has enough experience, and the Constitution says, say, or this or that or that. So he is qualified to be president by virtue of or this or that or that, even if he didn't go to any school. Could it be counterfactual? That was fraud in his documentation that he doesn't want to put it in. Could it be counterfactual that, the stories around him are true, and maybe there's a name change somewhere, arising for something? We need to know, and that's the point. So this is not about cooking Tinubu or Obi or anybody to anybody. This is not about who's qualified. He was a governor. Nobody doubts whether the president of Nigeria has the capacity to govern. Whether he's governing well is a different argument. So sometimes public commentators should have rigor in making the case. The case here is that our institutions have been captured. They're not doing their work. The courts don't do their work. INEC don't do their work. In fact, the work might actually prove that Tinubu has everything right. But I will tell you as a lawyer and somebody who has taught administrative law and thankfully went to the best school where this is say.
Dr. Samamadi, I hope you can hear us. We are losing your connection. It seems to have gone off a bit there. If you'll please confirm if you're still there, we will come back to you. Okay, I hear you. We will come. Yes. We'll come back to you. But let me go back to Mr. Lawal. Mr. Lawal, I'm wondering, with all of this, we've seen this reoccur many times. When does it stop being legitimate investigation or queries into one's credentials, and when does it start being political persecution? Because this is about the third or fourth time that this has reoccurred. And how should INEC treat these cases when they're brought before them?
Well, I think Dr. Samadi and myself agree on one critical thing, and I propose the solution. Now, if INEC does not have a pre-verification preceding elections, these are the situations we're always going to have. Dr. Samadi clearly mentioned the senator who we're finding out somewhere in eastern Nigeria, who by calculation would have been 8 years old when I think 5 years old when he finished primary school. I can't remember. And there's just so many discrepancies. So the present failure we're seeing with the situation with the president and many other politicians in Nigeria is that INEC has no instituted pre-verification for certificates or anything. And like Dr. Samadi explained, the question is not whether President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is qualified to govern. The question is, if this happened, what was his explanation? No explanation was given. So there are explanations where you can say, and it can happen to anybody. I can prove that I went to Chicago State University. Along the line, I lost my secondary school certificate. Here's the affidavit. I lost my primary school affidavit. I lost my primary school certificate. Here's the affidavit. I think this kind of conversations will put everything to bed. But because it hasn't been done, and I blame the regulator, let's be honest, I do not hold anybody responsible from this, apart from INEC, who has allowed people all get into various political offices with all this quagmire around. I think, and the solution, which I stated earlier, is that INEC needs to have a pre-election certificate verification system, which allows.
Okunle, are you still there?
Oh, we're having issues with our connection today. I hope Dr. Samamadi is back with us. He isn't. Okay, Dr. Samamadi, are you with us?
But I think they have disabled my video. But I can hear you.
We can hear you now.
We hear
now,
you
Dr. Madi, in terms of this situation, basically what you said earlier is transparency, as in coming out to say this is what has happened so far. Would you say that this situation now could influence, voters' perception in terms of our political campaigns ahead of general elections?
Well, it can if campaigners spread the right message. So if they say, look, what is President Tinubu hiding? Why can't he be consistent on a simple thing like primary school? I mean, like Kule said, I lost my certificate. The availability of certificate does not, invalidate the entry. So I went to primary school somewhere in Abakaliki. I can say I went to this Obu primary school in Abakaliki. It's so year. I don't have the certificate. In fact, there are many certificates I don't have again. because popular was not very diligent or careful or something happened. So this can become a political messaging issue, depending on two things. One, many of the voters are already captive voters. They are voting on ethnic line, religious line, or partisan line, or they are procured their principals, their brothers and sisters who are in government. So those will not be affected. They don't care. Many voters also, some voters will think that Tinubu has done well. We should give a second chance. They probably will not be affected as well. But there are voters who really are on the borderline. And in many developed democracies, those are the voters that swing, called the swing voters. They are not pledged, partisan. They are just looking at candidates. So, you know what? Would I trust somebody who can even disclose his primary school? Who put somewhere something else somewhere and it's not put it together? I mean, a reasonable explanation for why in 1999 you could say I went to X schools and can't say so is that I'm something about that. So that voter will say, look, I don't think I trust a president whose ideology is subject to such, confusion and misrepresentation or fraud. Again, it depends on what kind of voter you are. Conscientious voters who are independent-minded, voters who are scrutinizing candidates and asking key questions, or voters who pledge their vote because of external circumstances, their ethnicity, religion, social class, or relationship. So this can play big in an election, depending on two factors here. We always forget that Nigerian elections are yet to become credible in a real sense that votes, the shift in voter perception reflects a result. I've not seen that in the last two elections. I think that we are still working hard on creating voter integrity platform, and of course, educated voter where the media, the public commentators help to focus on the issues that should matter to voters: competence, character, policy. So if those issues are together, then you could see that this could cause vote loss for the president. But the bigger question is the Nigerian regulatory institutions, how they work. I mean, INEC, I've seen for over elections. Why can't INEC do basics? Set up a system. You're a regulator. And then senior lawyers confuse them. I to senior advocates who don't even have pay about administrative law, really, apart from studying. They don't even know that INEC is a regulator. They don't even know that every regulator right to make decisions with expedition. Go to passport office to go and get a passport, and you go and bring to them age declaration that is written with hand. The signature is upside down. They know that this is fake, and you're supposed to be 18 or thereabout to have a passport. Are they going to say, and they look at you don't even look 18. They say, well, there's a paper here called age declaration. We take it, even though it was sworn in a magistrate court in Honolulu. They are going to say, no, you don't have the qualification. That's elementary. Every regulator, if you go to FRS to ask for a license, and your age shows that you are actually 12 years, they're not going to give you because you said that you are 18, but the certificate you attach is discrepant with what you have said. They will deny you the same way INEC is a regulator. You can't file something on INEC and say, I have a WAEC, and what you file shows that you don't have anything. Or INEC knows that school ceased to exist in 1920 on public record, but you graduated in 2004 in that. Or INEC knows that by 2004 you're already a senator. You could have gone to school and you said you passed primary school 6. These are things that INEC will say, no, you're not qualified. Then you will now go to court. So people say, INEC, do nothing. Oh, let them go to court. How can that be? And that's why we're creating too many cases in court, cases that INEC should handle. Then if people feel too assured, they can then go to court and sue INEC. Not INEC to wait and say, you people go to court. It's terrible. I've been saying this for years, but nobody in INEC seems to have an ear to do the right thing.
Well, Kunle, now, what would you say, the end of this situation will be? Would it be that we need to have another court dismissal, or the president have to come out with, the original document and say, you know what, this is it for this situation to stop, being buried and resurrecting itself a few years later? What do you think it will look like?
So that will be determined by quite a few things. First and foremost, it will be determined by the president's will to come out openly to Nigerians. And, that to be integrity and character. The president decides and says, look, this was what happened. This was what happened. Let's have this conversation. I think that's what a leader should do. Now, the president, being the president of Nigeria, might not do that. Secondly, it is inevitable that INEC has failed in certificate. That's finding out about certificates or authenticating certificates. INEC has totally failed on that, and INEC should either find a system to do that, or INEC is totally comfortable, or how would I call it, complicit, because it's not only the case of the president. It goes downline. It goes fully downline, and there are multiple cases of these issues. So, two things must come into place. If the president chooses integrity, and I feel if the president doesn't choose integrity, it's up to Nigerians to say, do we want this quality in our president, or we don't want this quality in our president? And then voters should act how they choose to act as regards those two. So like I said, verification by INEC, which is key too. Then thirdly, I think the kind of conversations we're having around this should be solution-driven. It shouldn't be, he doesn't have a certificate. He doesn't have a certificate. There's this guy in Senate that doesn't have a certificate. There's this guy in House of Rep. Those are not, it doesn't take a nation forward. Okay, INEC, you failed at social points. INEC, come to the conversation. These are people from the CSOs. These are people from the apprentices, and say, look, this system cannot work like this again. You have to have a department that verifies. And if that department does not verify, and if there are no explanations, like I think generally, because let's say you're using the president as an example, if the president has served as a governor already, it is more than qualification to run for president, whether he went to school or not. Let's just be honest, because we shouldn't have even allowed him to run for governor if we felt in the beginning that was the problem. But because we have allowed that, we are now caught up with a bigger quagmire as he's serving for president, because there's no way, even in America, that you've served as a governor, you'll be allowed to run for president. So I think those are the few issues we'll have to look over.
Absolutely correct. And it should have its own independent verification system. This will just save us all the problems. But we do know one thing, that of course he does have a skill set. And once he has a skill set, he can run for president. I think that's okay for me. Thank you very much, Mr. Lawal. Thank you very much, Dr. Mahdi, for joining us to have this conversation. Our last one for Breakfast Extra. We'll continue to, well, hopefully we're not met with this conversation again. But of course, we'll continue to come to you for other conversations that come up. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
That will be all for Breakfast Extra this morning, unless I haven't been told that there's another segment coming up. There couldn't be.
There'll be a segment tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Okay. Tomorrow, Sunday morning. Do start the week with us here for Breakfast Extra as we join you again. She'll be in charge of the monologue for tomorrow, and I wonder what it is you will be talking about.
We will find out.
She doesn't know yet. Join us tomorrow, 8 a.m. We'll start then. And of course, it's going to be a blast just like it was today. Thank you very much. We'll see you then. Bye-bye.